It's 4:57 p.m. on April 3, 2022, and the luxury high-rise apartments of Miami's Biscayne Bay are bathed in the golden light of a Florida sunset. Storm clouds are gathering over the Atlantic, but inside Unit 2201 at 3131 Northeast 7th Avenue, a different kind of storm is about to break. In this $10,000 per month penthouse, with panoramic views of the Miami skyline, a 26-year-old woman named Courtney Clenney is about to make a phone call that will change everything. Her voice, captured forever in a 911 recording, will reveal the end of what appeared to be a fairy tale romance between a successful OnlyFans model and her cryptocurrency trader boyfriend. But this wasn't a fairy tale gone wrong. This was a pattern of escalating violence that had been building for 2 years, documented in police reports, elevator surveillance footage, and hundreds of text messages. Keep this digital evidence in mind as we unfold this story. It will become crucial to understanding how a relationship that started with passion ended in a Miami emergency room. The trail of evidence tells a story far more complex than what initially appeared that stormy April evening. To understand what happened in that Miami penthouse, we need to travel back to where this story began. Not in the glamorous world of social media fame, but in the quiet suburbs of Texas, where two very different lives were taking shape. Courtney Taylor Clenney was born on April 21, 1996 in Texas, to parents Deborah and Kim Clenney. Her father, a financial advisor with a degree in finance, provided the family with substantial wealth that would define much of Courtney's early life. She grew up alongside her sister Morgan in an environment where material wants were rarely denied. From an early age, Courtney displayed the kind of physical energy and competitive drive that her parents channeled into sports. By high school, she was participating in an impressive array of activities: football, gymnastics, volleyball, diving, and horseback riding. She also pursued theatre, drama, and dance classes, showing the performative instincts that would later serve her well in the digital age. This is like a high-performance engine getting premium fuel from day one. Everything seemed perfectly calibrated for success. But sometimes, engines that run too hot for too long develop problems that aren't visible until they catastrophically fail. As Courtney moved into her late teens, she made a decision that would prove pivotal. College, she decided, wasn't the right path for her. Instead, she focused on fitness and became a certified personal trainer, winning several competitions in weightlifting and fitness modeling. It was during this time that she noticed something interesting. Her gym photos on social media were getting significantly more attention than anything else she posted. This observation led her to a realization that would transform her life. She could monetize her physical appearance and fitness lifestyle. When OnlyFans launched in 2016, Courtney recognized what tech entrepreneurs call first-mover advantage, the benefit of being among the early adopters of a new platform. She was young, confident, physically fit, and comfortable with the kind of attention the platform generated. The numbers speak for themselves. Within just a few years, Courtney had amassed over 2 million Instagram followers and was earning staggering amounts of money. In 2020 alone, she made over $1 million on OnlyFans. The following year, 2021, that figure jumped to $1.8 million, not including her other revenue streams from sponsorships, brand partnerships, and appearances. To put this in perspective, Courtney was earning more money per year than most people see in a lifetime, and she was doing it before her 25th birthday. She had achieved what millions of young people dream of: financial independence, fame, and complete control over her career. But success in the digital world operates differently from traditional careers. It's like being a stock trader where your personal life becomes the commodity being traded. Every aspect of your existence, your relationships, your appearance, your private moments, becomes part of your brand value. This created a particular kind of pressure that would become crucial to understanding what happened later. In 2020, as Courtney's career was reaching new heights, she met someone who seemed like the perfect complement to her success story. Christian Obumseli, affectionately known as Toby to his friends, was born on April 12, 1994, and had grown up in Dallas, Texas. Christian's background painted the picture of an all-American success story. During his time at Murphy Middle School and later Plano East Senior High School, he excelled at both basketball and football. His coaches remembered him as someone with an infectious smile, outstanding work ethic, and a genuine desire to help younger players develop their skills. In his adult years, Christian had positioned himself at the cutting edge of financial technology. He was heavily involved in cryptocurrency trading and stock investments, having started at a remarkably young age. This wasn't someone playing with small amounts. Christian was generating substantial income from his trading activities, making him financially independent in his own right. When Christian and Courtney met, it seemed like a perfect match. Both were young, attractive, financially successful, and living the kind of lifestyle that their peers could only aspire to. Initial reports from friends suggested they were genuinely happy together, deeply in love, and enjoying the kind of passionate romance that social media was built to showcase. But relationships, like complex financial instruments, can appear stable on the surface while dangerous imbalances build underneath. Within just a few months of their relationship beginning, people close to Christian began noticing troubling changes. Friends who had known him as bright, energetic, and consistently upbeat now saw someone who often appeared stressed, preoccupied, and withdrawn. This transformation is like watching a high-performing athlete suddenly struggling with basic exercises. Something fundamental had changed, but the cause wasn't immediately obvious. The reason became clearer as details of their relationship emerged. Courtney had developed what can only be described as an obsessive need for control over Christian's life. She would become upset over minor issues, isolate him from his friend groups, and subject him to intense verbal confrontations that friends could hear from other rooms. But verbal arguments were just the beginning. Physical violence became a regular feature of their relationship, starting with what might seem like minor incidents, hitting him on the chest and shoulders, but escalating in both frequency and intensity. Christian made a decision that would prove fateful. He became Courtney's personal assistant. This meant he was traveling with her constantly, managing her schedule, and essentially organizing his entire life around her career demands. While this gave them more time together, it also meant he was exposed to her volatile behavior with no opportunity for respite or perspective. Think of it like being trapped in a pressure cooker with no release valve. The heat and pressure just keep building until something gives way. By 2021, the situation had escalated far beyond what anyone could dismiss as normal relationship conflict. Courtney's drinking had become problematic, leading to 2 DUI charges and increasingly erratic behavior at bars and clubs in Austin. In July 2021, an incident in Las Vegas provided a glimpse into the true nature of their relationship dynamics. Police were called after Courtney threw a glass at Christian's head in their hotel room. The responding officer's body camera footage captured Courtney's response to their questions, a masterclass in deflection and narrative manipulation. During the interview, Courtney initially denied throwing anything, then admitted to throwing objects in their house before, then changed her story again. When officers found broken glass in the room, she claimed not to remember how it got there, despite having just admitted to throwing glasses at Christian in the past. This pattern of changing stories and shifting blame would become a crucial element in understanding what happened later. It's like watching someone try to solve a puzzle by constantly changing the shape of the pieces. Eventually, nothing fits together coherently. Despite suffering a head injury serious enough to require police intervention, Christian declined to press charges and actually pleaded for Courtney's release. This response revealed something important about the psychological dynamics at play. Christian had become conditioned to protect Courtney even when she was harming him. In January 2022, the couple decided to make a fresh start by relocating from Austin to Miami. For Christian, this represented hope, a new city, new environment, and perhaps a chance for their relationship to reset on healthier terms. Miami seemed like the perfect choice for a young couple with substantial resources. The city offered pristine beaches, vibrant nightlife, warm weather year-round, and the kind of lifestyle that would complement Courtney's social media career. They settled into a luxury apartment that perfectly reflected Courtney's financial success. Unit 2, 201 at 3131 Northeast 7th Avenue, was a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom penthouse with spectacular views of Biscayne Bay. The $10,000 monthly rent was something Courtney frequently mentioned, both as evidence of her success and as a tool for maintaining control over Christian. But changing locations doesn't change fundamental behavioral patterns. It's like trying to fix a malfunctioning GPS by driving to different cities. The underlying problem remains unchanged. Within weeks of moving to Miami, Courtney's behavior had not only returned to previous patterns, but had actually intensified. She became a regular at local clubs and bars, and her confrontational behavior toward Christian became more public and more frequent. In a move that would later prove crucial for investigators, Courtney appeared on a Miami-based podcast where she made statements that revealed her true mindset about relationships and control. During this interview, she openly described herself as toxic and stated that she hated being bossed around. More significantly, she made comments about her dating preferences that revealed underlying attitudes about race and power dynamics that would become important context for understanding her treatment of Christian. This interview operates like a digital confession. Courtney was essentially documenting her own problematic behaviour and attitudes for public consumption. It demonstrates a level of self-awareness about her toxicity combined with what appears to be pride in these characteristics. Meanwhile, the pattern of violence in their relationship was escalating dramatically. Christian's personal belongings were regularly thrown off their apartment balcony during Courtney's rages. She would trash their apartment, demand that he leave, then attempt to make amends by purchasing expensive gifts, on one occasion spending over $10,000 on Louis Vuitton luggage to replace clothes she had destroyed. This cycle of violence followed by expensive gestures is like a toxic version of operant conditioning. The victim becomes trained to endure abuse because it's followed by positive reinforcement, making it psychologically difficult to break the pattern. The most damning visual evidence of their relationship dynamics was captured by the apartment building's elevator surveillance camera. This footage, which would later become crucial evidence in court, clearly showed Courtney physically attacking Christian while he attempted to defend himself by pushing her away. The footage is particularly significant because it contradicts the narrative that Courtney would later present to authorities that she was the victim of Christian's aggression. Instead, it shows her as the clear aggressor while Christian appears to be trying to de-escalate the situation. This surveillance footage operates like a black box recorder in an aviation accident. It provides objective documentation of events that can't be disputed or reinterpreted through conflicting testimonies. During this period, Christian began documenting their relationship through letters and text messages that would later provide investigators with unprecedented insight into the psychological impact of sustained abuse. In one particularly heartbreaking letter, Christian wrote, "You are honestly the sweetest and most annoying woman I know, but I would never trade you for anything. I want to be everything to you. Your boyfriend, your best friend, your lifelong partner, the man you trust to put his life on the line for you." These words reveal someone who had become psychologically trapped in an abusive relationship, interpreting moments of kindness as evidence of underlying love while minimizing or rationalizing the violence. In November 2021, after Courtney stabbed him in the leg, Christian documented the incident in a text message. "The crazy thing about all of this is that yesterday when you stabbed me in the leg and you saw how bad it was hurting me, the next morning I still woke up happy. I still gave you a good day even though my leg was hurting because my girlfriend stabbed me." This message reveals the psychological mechanism that keeps abuse victims trapped. The desperate hope that love can overcome violence, and the willingness to absorb enormous amounts of pain in pursuit of that hope. In March 2022, just weeks before his death, Christian sent what now reads like a prophecy. "Is love going to kill me? What if the knife sliced my lip and it wasn't sliced by my beard, my cheek, my eye? What might happen next time?" By March 2022, the relationship had reached a breaking point. Police had been called to their apartment multiple times, with officers documenting a pattern of domestic disturbance calls that painted a clear picture of escalating conflict. Courtney officially broke up with Christian, forcing him to sleep on a small sofa in the apartment's foyer, essentially the hallway between the elevator and the main living space. For 6 days, Christian lived in this confined space while Courtney entertained her mother, who had come to stay during the breakup. When Courtney's mother returned to Texas on April 1st, it left Christian and Courtney alone to resolve their relationship status. The next day, April 2nd, police were called again after the building's concierge witnessed another heated argument between them. The responding officer's body camera footage from this encounter reveals Courtney's mindset and tactics in dealing with authority figures. Initially, she begged the concierge not to call police. When officers arrived, she quickly changed her approach, claiming she had wanted them there and demanding a restraining order against Christian. When officers explained that Christian had tenant rights since he lived in the apartment, Courtney became increasingly agitated and confrontational. Her responses showed someone who expected to manipulate situations through emotional appeals and was frustrated when legal realities didn't bend to her desires. Despite this confrontation with police, Courtney and Christian reconciled the following morning, setting the stage for the final, tragic confrontation. April 3rd, 2022 began like many other days in their turbulent relationship. According to Courtney's later statements, she and Christian had made peace after the previous day's police intervention. Christian went for a walk around 1:15 p.m. to clear his head, while Courtney spent the afternoon on phone calls with her mother, doing laundry and watching YouTube videos. At 4:01 p.m, Courtney began a live Instagram session that lasted until 4:33 p.m, just as Christian returned home with a Subway sandwich. This timing would become important later, as it established a precise timeline for the events that followed. The argument that led to Christian's death began over something that reveals the controlling nature of their relationship: location sharing on their phones. Christian had stopped sharing his live location with Courtney, which she interpreted as evidence that he was being deceptive about his activities. When Christian asked Courtney to reciprocate by sharing her location, she refused, a double standard that ignited the argument. According to Courtney's later statements to police, this disagreement escalated when Christian allegedly grabbed her by the neck and pushed her to the floor. Courtney claimed that when Christian continued to approach her aggressively, she grabbed a kitchen knife and warned him to stay away. She told police that when he didn't stop, she threw the knife at him from approximately 10 feet away. But this version of events would later be contradicted by forensic evidence in ways that fundamentally undermined her self-defense claims. At 4:57 p.m, emergency services received a 911 call that captured the immediate aftermath of the stabbing. Courtney's voice on the recording reveals someone in genuine distress, but also someone whose first instinct was not to call for medical help. Instead, according to her own admission, Courtney spent 13 minutes on the phone with her mother before dialing 911. These weren't 13 minutes of attempting first aid or trying to stop Christian's bleeding. They were 13 minutes of consultation about how to handle the situation. During the emergency call, Christian's voice can be heard in the background, telling Courtney that he can't feel his arm and that he's going to die. These words, captured in the 911 recording, would become some of the most haunting evidence in the case. When paramedics and police arrived, they found Christian bleeding heavily with a stab wound to his chest. Blood was discovered throughout the apartment, on the kitchen island, in the master bedroom, the bathroom and the living room, suggesting he had been bleeding for an extended period before help was called. Christian was rushed to the hospital while Courtney was taken to the police station for questioning. What followed was a 4-hour police interrogation that revealed crucial details about Courtney's mindset and the inconsistencies in her account of events. Without requesting an attorney, Courtney spoke extensively with detectives about the incident. Her demeanour during this interrogation was revealing. She appeared agitated and emotional, frequently describing the events as such a blur. When asked about specific details, she often claimed not to remember or said she needed time to think about her story. This last detail is particularly significant. In a genuine self-defense situation, the victim typically has a clear, consistent recollection of events because they were in a state of heightened awareness during a life-threatening situation. The need to think about or construct a story suggests something very different. During the interrogation, Courtney made several statements that would later be contradicted by physical evidence. Her claim about throwing the knife from 10 feet away would prove to be impossible given the nature of Christian's wound. Approximately 2 hours into the interrogation, officers informed Courtney that Christian had died from his injuries. Her reaction was captured on video and audio recordings that would later be analysed by experts in behavioural psychology. Following Christian's death, Courtney was voluntarily admitted to a psychiatric ward for evaluation under Florida's Baker Act, which provides for emergency mental health intervention. However, within just 2 days, she was released and deemed not to be a threat to herself or others. Perhaps more surprisingly, initial investigators concluded that the stabbing was a case of domestic dispute, resulting in justifiable self-defense. This determination was reached in less than 24 hours after responding to the scene, an unusually rapid conclusion for a case involving a death. This quick determination sparked immediate controversy, particularly among Christian's family and friends who had witnessed the pattern of abuse throughout their relationship. Critics argued that Courtney had benefited from what they termed pretty, blonde, white woman syndrome, the tendency of the justice system to view attractive white women as inherently less threatening or culpable. Within days of being released, Courtney was photographed drinking with her father, leading to widespread criticism about her apparent lack of remorse or grief over Christian's death. While Christian's family grieved and struggled to afford funeral expenses, Courtney's financial behaviour revealed a different set of priorities. Within weeks of Christian's death, she had fled Miami and returned to Texas to be near her family. In June 2022, just 2 months after Christian's death, Courtney purchased a luxury home in Texas for $1.4 million. The 3,000 square foot hillside property featured 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a hot tub, and multiple deck areas. Hardly the behaviour of someone devastated by a tragic accident. Even more revealing, she transferred an additional $1.2 million to her father's bank account for what she described as safeguarding, a move that looked suspiciously like attempting to hide assets from potential civil litigation. This financial behaviour is like watching someone prepare for a siege, securing resources and fortifying positions in anticipation of a prolonged legal battle. While Courtney was spending millions on real estate and asset protection, a more thorough investigation was building a very different picture of what had happened in that Miami penthouse. The medical examiner's report proved to be the most damaging evidence against Courtney's self-defense claims. The forensic analysis concluded that Christian's wound, which penetrated 8 centimeters (3 inches) into his chest, could not have been caused by a knife thrown from the distance Courtney claimed. The wound pattern was consistent with a deliberate downward stabbing motion delivered at close range. The knife had severed Christian's subclavian artery, causing the massive blood loss that led to his death. Perhaps most tragically, the fatal wound was located just inches above a tattoo on Christian's chest, a tattoo of Courtney's name, which he had gotten as a symbol of his love for her. Additional evidence included the extensive documentation of their abusive relationship, the elevator surveillance footage, the Las Vegas police report, Christian's recorded messages and letters, and testimony from friends and family about the pattern of violence they had witnessed. Among the most damaging evidence were audio recordings that Christian had secretly made of their interactions. These recordings captured Courtney's abusive behaviour in real time, including racial slurs and threats of violence. In one recording, made in a hotel lobby, Christian can be heard mentioning that Courtney had hit him. Her immediate response was to speak more quietly and tell him to shut up, behaviour consistent with someone trying to prevent others from overhearing evidence of abuse. These recordings operate like flight data recorders. They provide objective documentation of the relationship dynamics that can't be disputed or reinterpreted through conflicting testimonies. On August 10, 2022, more than 4 months after Christian's death, Courtney was finally arrested on charges of second-degree murder. Prosecutors explained that the delay was necessary to build an airtight case. They knew they would only have one opportunity to secure a conviction and needed to ensure all evidence was properly documented and analysed. The evidence package that prosecutors assembled was substantial: surveillance footage, medical examiner reports, audio recordings, text messages, witness testimonies, and documentation of prior violence. This wasn't a case built on circumstantial evidence or conflicting testimonies. It was a comprehensive documentation of an abusive relationship that escalated to homicide. Courtney's defense team attempted several strategies to limit the damage from the overwhelming evidence. They filed motions to block the elevator surveillance footage from being shown to the public, to exclude Christian's secret recordings, and to secure bail for their client. All of these motions were denied by the court. The judge specifically noted that given Courtney's substantial financial resources and the seriousness of the charges, she posed a significant flight risk and would remain in custody until trial. If convicted of second-degree murder in Florida, Courtney faces a life sentence with a minimum of 16 years and 9 months before being eligible for parole. The case of Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumseli illuminated several important issues beyond the specific facts of their relationship. It highlighted the dangers of economic imbalance in relationships, where financial control becomes a tool for psychological and physical abuse. It also demonstrated how social media success can create psychological pressures and behavioural patterns that are invisible to the public. Courtney's online persona showed a successful, confident woman living an enviable lifestyle, while the reality behind closed doors was violence, addiction, and escalating abuse. The case raised questions about how domestic violence is investigated and prosecuted, particularly when the traditional gender roles of victim and perpetrator are reversed. Christian's friends and family argued that if the genders had been reversed, if a wealthy male social media influencer had killed his girlfriend after a pattern of documented abuse, the case would have been handled very differently from the beginning. The progression of Courtney and Christian's relationship follows a textbook pattern of escalating domestic abuse. It began with emotional manipulation and control, progressed to isolation from support systems, escalated to physical violence, and culminated in homicide. What made this case particularly tragic was that Christian had extensively documented the abuse he was suffering. His letters and text messages show someone who understood that he was in danger, but couldn't break free from the psychological control that had been established. The digital age has provided us with unprecedented documentation of abusive relationships through text messages, social media posts, elevator surveillance footage, and secretly recorded conversations. This evidence trail makes it harder for abusers to manipulate narratives and easier for prosecutors to demonstrate patterns of behaviour. Christian Obumseli was 27 years old when he died, just 1 week before his 28th birthday. Friends and family remember him as someone with an infectious smile, generous heart, and the kind of optimism that made others feel better about themselves. His letters to Courtney reveal someone who believed deeply in the power of love to overcome difficulties. His willingness to endure abuse in hopes of finding the good in his abuser demonstrates both his compassion and the psychological complexity of intimate partner violence. Christian had built a successful career in cryptocurrency trading and stock investments. He had plans, dreams, and a future that was cut short by someone who claimed to love him. The tattoo of Courtney's name on his chest, positioned just inches from where the fatal knife wound was inflicted, serves as a tragic symbol of how love and violence became intertwined in their relationship. The case of Courtney Clenney demonstrates how the digital age has changed the nature of evidence in criminal cases. Text messages, social media posts, surveillance footage, and recorded conversations now provide detailed documentation of relationship dynamics that were previously hidden behind closed doors. But this digital trail also reveals how social media can create pressures and enable behaviours that contribute to intimate partner violence. The constant performance of happiness and success online can mask serious psychological and behavioural problems, while the financial independence that social media success provides can enable controlling and abusive behaviour. For those in similar situations, Christian's story serves as both a warning and a call to action. The documentation he left behind shows that he understood the danger he was in, but felt trapped by emotional bonds and financial dependency. His death reminds us that love should never require enduring violence, and that no amount of money or success justifies abuse. The case also highlights the importance of taking domestic violence seriously, regardless of the gender of the perpetrator or victim. Christian's death might have been prevented if the pattern of violence in his relationship had been addressed earlier by law enforcement, mental health professionals, or the legal system. As we await the final resolution of Courtney Clenney's trial, the evidence suggests that what happened in that Miami penthouse was not self-defense, but the predictable culmination of a relationship built on control, manipulation, and escalating violence. The digital trail left behind ensures that Christian's voice can still be heard, and that the truth about their relationship cannot be buried along with him.